What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks.
I do have a media recommendation.
I love Lord of the Rings. Superheroes, movies, a little jack of all trades, I guess.
So what makes me a geek?
What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks, the weekly pop culture podcast from Central Michigan Life, where we discuss all things geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you follow the CM Life Instagram and Twitter pages for updates on the podcast, and to look for us wherever you find your podcasts, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website at www.cm-life.com. Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan Valentine. I'd like to thank you all for joining me and my fellow geeks this week. He will introduce themselves in a second with our question of the week. This week's question is, what is your favorite DC movie? Like, not just like, I know with the new DCEU, there's like this whole universe that they're trying to create and failing to create. But, you know, DC has like a pretty decent history of movies being made, even before Marvel did with like, where the first big ones were Spider-Man and X-Men, for at least in recent memory for Marvel. But DC has an even stronger history further back in film. So just wondering your thoughts on that. Personally, mine is The Dark Knight, with Heath Ledger's Joker, really good. But The Dark Knight Rises is like a close second. I really like The Dark Knight Rises. I like Tom Hardy's Bane as like a perspective of the character that's not like, you know, this big roidy guy that he is in the comics, but also shows the intelligence of Bane. But like Dark Knight takes the cake, just with like Batman Begins was a good start, but Dark Knight like really put the tone of Batman in the 21st century. Kind of molded the way I think of Batman now, because that was one of the first Batman properties I ever really consumed. So what about y'all?
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Hope Gooderl. I will have to agree with Brendan that The Dark Knight is probably one of my favorite movies because of Heath Ledger's Joker. I watched that at like midnight / really late when I first watched it on like my little portable DVD player. And then I had a friend who could do like a very close imitation of Heath Ledger's You Want to Know How I Got This Smile or These Scars, and he would do it to me during every marching band rehearsal, and yeah, that was fun, because I almost got nightmares from that because of how late in the night I watched that and how dark it was.
You want to know how I got these scars?
God,
I can't quite do it.
My father was a drinker.
Just we'll all do the rest of the episode in like our Heath Ledger Joker voice.
But I would also say Wonder Woman was also like very close together, because I also like, besides Wonder Woman being a badass, you know, Gal Gadot, but also having Remus Lupin as Ares.
That was really cool. That was a twist I was not expecting.
That was definitely like one that I was like, yes. And also I'm sitting there going, Remus, what are you doing? Go back to the other Marauders. What are you doing? So yeah, those are my two.
Oh, right. Isaac Hunter here. I'm going to break from the mold. Just kidding. I was also going to say Dark Knight. I was actually going to say the whole Nolan Batman trilogy, which is very cheap of me. Fantastic trilogy. I actually watched it for one of my classes in high school. It was a film and literature class, and we watched them, and it was fantastic. But I know it's not a movie, but I also want to cite the entire original Teen Titans TV show. Because, you know, if you bought a disc of it, it's kind of like watching it on a movie, even though it's a whole, you know, seasons.
We do have the Titans Trouble in Tokyo movie if you want to do that.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, a guy turns into a giant ink monster. Spoilers.
Shogun.
Yeah. So there you go. That counts, right? No. Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If we're gonna do some, just real quick, our least favorite. It's not my least favorite, but everyone seems to hate Batman and Robin with George Clooney, with Poison Ivy, Bane, and Mr. Freeze. It sounds like it'd be a really good movie, but everyone's like, "Oh, bat nipples." on the suit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always go old school and go Michael Keaton's
Michael
Batman.
Keaton's Batman. Our intro music is loosely based off of that sound, the theme from that. Alrighty, well, thank you very much to our fellow geeks for starting us off with that question. And then before we get into our main topic of the week, have some geek news for you. Would anyone like to go first? Or should I start?
I can go first.
Go for
I
it,
got
Isaac.
it. I got this. All right. News number one. The new Mortal Kombat movie has been delayed one more week. So instead of coming out April 16th, it's going to be April 23rd. Following that, the Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmed Best has released that he will not be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. I know that some fans wanted him to be there. Series, sorry. What that voice said. Now, but I mean, to be fair, he only cited he wouldn't be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I mean, there's a lot of series coming forward. I want to see him in Book of what is it, Book of Boba Fett or whatever.
Yeah, actually, I thought if he was going to show up, I thought it would be in Kenobi series, just because then you could I feel like in the Kenobi series we might hear more about like Coruscant and like if he's still like in the Senate.
We'll get some closure between the two characters. Yeah,
I would like to know what happened to Jar Jar, because I know in Legends he just lived out the rest of his life in exile for basically being the one that allowed the Empire to come to power.
Yeah. I remember there being something about him like being like a clown on like some like off-world, like a poor clown that lived in the streets. But I don't know if that was.
I think that's Legends. I think it's not canon anymore. What happened to Jar Jar? And as much as everyone hates Jar Jar, I want to know what happened to him, because like you don't even really see him in Episode 3. Like he's there, but not really.
They're at the funeral. I don't know. So many people gave him so much flack that they cut down what his character could have been, which was a Sith Lord, as we all know.
Darth Jar Jar.
Please, when you get a Darth name, it becomes a new name, unless that has always been his name. Also, the up-and-coming Lord of the Rings video game Gollum released like a sneak peek of gameplay earlier, which, I mean, I didn't even know if to take the game seriously at first, but it actually looks pretty neat. Very, almost like the way Assassin's Creed, you're climbing all over buildings. That's what it seemed to appear like, sneaking through, Goblin Town in the Misty Mountains, stuff like that.
But as Gollum, it doesn't seem like you're going to be doing too much combat. So I wonder if it's going to be a stealth-based game.
Yeah, that's what I assume. I mean, he has to eat. Maybe there's just like a food bar he's got to fill up. I don't know.
Is it just going to be like a traveling thing like the rest of anything Lord of the Rings?
It would be really neat if it went beyond just the under the mountains. Like if we actually saw him like tracking the Fellowship through Moria, stuff like that.
Because we don't see that in the movies or really hear anything about it in the books. It's like once he's with the Fellowship, then you kind of hear some of his story, but you don't get to see his journey. No.
Maybe you get to play out him, killing his cousin. I don't know. For the ring. Do you say spoilers? It happened 500 years ago. Okay. And then lastly, the new animated TV show Invincible, released on Amazon Prime the other day, featuring Stephen Ewan and J.K. Simmons. I watched the first episode, and it's very much, seems like an average superhero cartoon TV show, about a boy unlocking his powers. His father is a very Superman type figure. But then it gets pretty intense in like the last 10 minutes, like very intense. Like
so
boys
like Amazon's
level
Prime.
Intense.
Oh, boys level intense.
Oof,
okay, so
yeah.
The thing that I've heard like Amazon Prime described as for like its original stuff for a streaming service, like the way Disney Plus is, it's just cameos. That's their thing. Like if a Disney Plus original series, you're getting cameos. But with Prime, it's like instead of like, going over the top with like comedy or like any other like series trope, they just go over the top with violence because they can. And if you've seen The Boys, Absolutely. That's how it is. So I'm not surprised because if it's a Prime original, I expect just blood and gore heavy. But
Yeah.
that's interesting. So
No,
like,
there's like a good like cutoff where like a title card appears at like the 45-minute mark, and it literally could be like the end of the episode, like it goes to black, and then dialogue starts again, and then it goes back, and you're like, whoa, I thought it was done. No, but it's really good, and J.K. Simmons, phenomenal actor, great voice. Could definitely play a Superman type figure, just in the voice. No, it's good.
it's Sky High meets The Boys,
Yeah,
right?
it looked like Sky High too. Like the moment I saw it, I was like, this is Sky High. But no, yeah, check it out. All right, who wants to go next?
Brendan, go for it.
I got this because Hope usually takes us away with news. So my first thing is I've been anxiously awaiting Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I pre-ordered it months ago, then it got delayed, and we still don't have a release date officially. However, there are rumors circulating that we might get like a surprise drop of the game on May the 4th. Um, has been nothing to substantiate these rumors. No, but there hasn't been nothing to deny them either. So I'm just hoping because big thing. Also, as of this podcast being recorded, Godzilla versus King Kong has been released. However, before that, we did get a trailer indicating that Mecha Godzilla would be in the film. So if you have not seen it and are hoping to go see it and needed a little bit more motivation to see it either in theaters or on HBO Max, that's it. I've also heard rumors that Mecha Godzilla is actually the villain of the film, not the two fighting. I
believe it.
I have heard who wins the fight. I will not spoil it.
How dare you?
Get
out
you
of
want me to
here.
spoil it on the podcast?
I don't want you.
No, how dare you hear spoilers and even mention it?
You're supposed to close your ears off to those.
It wasn't my choice. I was forced. All right. Also, this news is a few weeks old now, but we got like not like quite a teaser trailer for The Matrix 4, but we got like an official like released clip of images from the original trilogy that are like supposed to link into the fourth one, and its official release date will be December 22nd, 2021, as of right now. Also, we did get an official cast list released for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is coming out, which I didn't mean to harshly correct you, Isaac, but also like it's long enough that it could be its own trilogy because we're getting 6-hour-long episodes, which is the equivalent of a Star Wars trilogy in terms of time. So that'll be exciting. We're getting a Kenobi trilogy. Some of the notable names among the cast are Moses Ingram from The Queen's Gambit, Kumail Nanjiani, my bad, Kumail Nanjiani, who is also going to be in The Eternals, which is being released this year. Joel Edgerton, who you might remember from The Great Gatsby, and Sung Kang, who played Han in the Fast and Furious movies, are all confirmed to be in the cast, among other notable names. Those are just the ones that I'm like, I have personal connection to and know things that they've been in. Other Star Wars news. We got another official trailer for The Bad Batch, which will be coming out on May the 4th. It does confirm that there will be appearances by Captain Rex and Fennec Shan. Both characters have appeared in other media besides the original show they've been in. So I'm excited for both of those, especially Fennec, to see kind of like more of an origin rather than what we just saw in Mandalorian, where like she's kind of cemented in her role as an assassin. This is kind of early. We also will be seeing Saw Gerrera in the early days of the Empire. Oh, early Empire Saw is just gonna be freaking ruthless. I love it.
Deception, lies.
Yes. And then I've heard rumors in the Bad Batch that we might be getting a conclusion in this season of the Bad Batch to Commander Cody's story from the original trilogy in Clone Wars. And the rumor is that Captain Rex may be the one to kill him. These are not. Oh, I would love and hate it. I would cry so hard. Yeah. But those are the rumors flying around, and if that happens, I'm going to die. the HBO series for The Last of Us will start filming in Calgary in July with Pedro Pascal playing
Joel.
oh crap, what's his name? Joel, playing Joel. I'm so excited for Pedro Pascal as Joel. That's going to be very, very good. And then my last bit of geek news, for those of you that are fans of the show Lucifer, and season 5 is kind of cut off a little early because of COVID, but season 5 part 2 will be released on Netflix on May 28th. And I'm very, very excited. I'm a huge Lucifer fan, so I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to that. I gotta re-catch up on Lucifer. Might binge watch that show at some point. So yeah, for my geek news, I will start off with last week. I could not remember this bit of information and I could not find it. I found it. So there's going to be a Hawkeye spinoff, and it's in early works for Disney Plus, and it is called Echo. And the character is going to be introduced in the Hawkeye series. And she is a deaf Native American superhero played by Alaqua Cox. So I'm super excited for that one. Clint Eastwood has a new movie coming out that will be released in theaters on October 22nd of this year, in which he will be directing and acting in it, and it's going to be called Cry Macho. The King's Man, which is a prequel to Kingsman, is going to be released on December 22nd of this year, so it has a holiday release date. The book series A Court of Thorns and Roses, written by Sarah J. Maas, is coming to Hulu as a TV series, brought to you by the creator of Outlander and Battlestar Galactica, Ronald D. Moore, and he will be co-writing with Sarah J. Maas to write the pilot episode for Hulu. So I'm super excited for that. If you are a fan of the Transformers movies series, you are in luck because there is a new movie that is in the works from Charm City Kings filmmaker Angel Manuel Soto, along with Marco Ramirez, who is the co-creator of The Defenders on Netflix. He is writing the script for that movie. An article that I was reading said that it's not supposed to be like the main Transformers that we know, but we'll still know what's going on.
I mean, I'm all for more Transformers, yeah.
I'm excited for that one. For fans of musical Broadway, especially after the recent Oprah interview that came out, if you are fans of the royal family in England, the Diana the Musical is coming to Netflix on October 1st. And it's also hopefully going to reopen on Broadway on December 1st for live audiences if Broadway is open. They had a few shows that premiered on Broadway pre-COVID, but then COVID hit and they had to stop.
So they turned The Life of Princess Diana into a musical?
Yes.
That seems odd.
I mean, not really, because with like all the other things, like you've got the Carole King musical called Beautiful.
Yeah, but like that seems weird that the royal family would allow that to happen. Not in Britain. Two, like
I think it was in England first.
Okay,
I think it
but
was
also
for a
it
while.
Still seems weird that like the Queen does not seem like the type of person to be like, yeah, turn my dead family member's life into this musical for entertainment.
I mean, if they're not totally bashing the royal family, then they probably don't have much of a problem with it.
Yeah, but also wasn't there like a scandal with like, I mean, yes, there was a scandal with like Princess Diana and everything. So that seems
Prince
something
Charles.
They wouldn't want, continued to be talking about. But
I mean, as long as they continue to have scandals right now, it's going to be talked about too. So
that's fair.
Let's see. Continuing on with news. So fans have been very adamant about getting Sebastian Stan to play young Luke Skywalker in any of the new upcoming Star Wars things. And Sebastian Stan finally commented about the want for him to play Luke Skywalker. And he was quoted saying during an interview, "Well, if Mark Hamill calls me personally to tell me that he feels inclined to share this role with me, then I'll believe it. Until then, I won't believe it." So basically, like, he just wants Mark Hamill to be like, yes, you can play this role, like, continue.
Yeah, get his blessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Mark
I respect that.
Yeah, I do too. But Mark Hamill came back a couple of days ago, and his response was, "This assumes I have any say in casting decisions at Lucasfilm, when in fact, I don't." But I mean, if Sebastian Stan is casted as Luke Skywalker, like if that happens, then I do hope that like Mark Hamill reaches out and is like, "Hey, yes, play it, and here's like tips or whatever." Like that would be really cool for someone who played the role for so long. Fans of The Flash, there is going to be a special 150th episode later on in this season, and it's going to include Impulse, or Bart Allen.
I heard about this. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say something because you're so on top of the Arrowverse shows on, CW. But Bart Allen is going to be played by Jordan Fisher, who's kind of sort of a Disney kid, and he was also in the live action Rent musical that happened a couple years ago now, I think. And I could be wrong, but the last time we saw Impulse like portrayed at all was during Smallville.
Live action Smallville, yes. Impulse has been in Young Justice.
Okay.
So in an animated form.
Okay, but in live action form, he hasn't been portrayed since Smallville happened.
And I think Smallville was the first one to portray Bart Allen.
Yes, I think so too. In Marvel news, Russell Crowe has been cast as an unknown role in Thor: Love and Thunder. So that's going to be really interesting to have multiple Australians in Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm all for it because Russell Crowe can play an amazing villain if needed, and he can also just be an amazing actor in general.
He just plays his character from Gladiator. Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Or he just comes in, with his singing voice from Les Mis, as Javert.
Wasn't he also in like Hamlet?
I think so.
No, that's Mel Gibson. Different person.
He's been in a lot of different things. So
he's been in Shakespeare. I know he's been in something Shakespeare. Yeah. But yeah.
The Venom sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage, release date has been pushed back a week from September 17th to September 24th. Fans of CSI, you get to rejoice because there is a reboot happening at CBS called CSI Vegas, and it's picking up 2 years after CSI Crime Scene Investigation's conclusion. So William Peterson, Georgia Fox, and Wallace Langham will return as their original characters, Gil Grissom, Sarah Seidel, and David Hodges, respectively, as series regulars. New cast members include Matt Lauria, Paula Newsome, Mel Rodriguez, and Mandeep Dillon. And I apologize, my dog is now trying to get in on the podcast. So it was originally going to air in October of last year for CSI's 20th anniversary, but it was delayed because of, you guessed it, the pandemic. Ooh.
Oh, no way. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Right? It's so many things to thank COVID for. Resident Evil has also been delayed. Resident Evil...
The movie?
Yeah, Welcome to Raccoon City. It has been delayed from September 3rd all the way to November 24th. And the reasoning being is likely because Shang-Chi is being released on September 3rd, and Sony wants to release in theaters and make money, and with the US being really slow at reopening theaters, that like they want,
I guess
wanna
that
have
makes sense. Yeah.
The Suicide Squad is coming to theaters and HBO Max on August 6th. So hey, HBO Max, this is our weekly bit of asking you to sponsor us, please, and thank you.
Our
and
weekly bit or our hourly bit? Our every
both.
15-minute bit?
All of the above. My final bit of news has to do with Jensen Ackles. He and the Twitter account for this new movie have all released that he has been cast as the new voice actor for Bruce Wayne / Batman in the new animated movie Batman: The Longest Halloween, I think is what it was called.
Wait, what? I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull it up real quick.
It's the Long Halloween.
The Long Halloween.
Long
And
Halloween.
The Long Halloween.
Oh, well, Jensen
New-
Ackles.
He's got the deep, raspy voice to play Batman.
No, he could do it.
He could definitely do
I
it.
don't know if he could quite do it yet.
I mean, if a British Christian Bale can do it, then yes.
Christian Bale's British?
Yeah.
Whoops. 100% thought he was like from like Tennessee.
That's how good of an actor he is.
Yeah, I will say
Oh, well.
it was really weird watching Christian Bale with his actual British accent in Ford versus Ferrari after watching him in Batman, because it was like, oh yeah, he's British. That's right.
Swear to me.
But so other stars for Batman: The Long Halloween also include Naya Riviera, which she was the Glee actress that passed away in the boating accident, I believe, a few years ago. But she's going to be voicing Selena Kyle. Josh Duhamel is playing Harvey Dent. Billy Burke is James Gordon. Titus Welliver is going to be Falcone. And I can never say his last name correctly. David Malishian?
The Chutney? Wait, who?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Polka
Yeah.
Dot Man in the Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that guy.
He also plays Murdoch on the new MacGyver series. And he was also in Ant-Man as one of the
Yeah,
team members.
He was also Abracadabra in the Flash series.
he's
Yes.
everywhere.
He really is.
Don't people have like certain contracts they have to follow? Not him.
He is going to be Calendar Man, and Troy Baker.
Yes.
Polka Dot
I was
Man
waiting-
and Calendar Man?
I was waiting for him. Like, I was like, who's going to play Calendar Man? Because, like, he's a big part of Long Halloween. I was like, okay, I'm excited for that.
And then we get Troy Baker as the Joker.
Oh, yeah.
So
Troy
Right.
Baker can do many things with his voice.
Very excited for that. Alrighty, well, that is it for our geek news. Thank you very much, geeks. And to kind of stay on this like Batman track that we're kind of already on, since we last recorded, we got actually not one but two new trailers for the new Suicide Squad movie. So we want to discuss those, the trailers, and like our thoughts on the movie, and then just in general where we think the DCEU has been, and where it's going. So to start off, if you haven't seen the trailer, highly recommend going to watch it because there will be spoilers for the trailer. It is just a trailer, so it's not going to be spoilers for the movie, but highly recommend going to watch the both of them. Any like first impressions, thoughts, like anything big that really stood out?
What's his name?
Starro.
Starro?
Yes.
That's a
I'm
big
so
thing that
excited.
stood out. No, I don't know. I mean, but what really stood out to me, of course, was the action, like the huge cast. It's got such a big cast with so many good names that it's going to end up being like Deadpool 2's X Factor or whatever they
X-Force.
are. X-Force. It's going to be like that. Because the posters say, "Don't get attached."
Bro, if everyone dies, And it's not okay. They don't have like a ton of A-listers either. It's not like the last Suicide Squad where like every villain was like A or B tier. Like even like the lesser known ones, like El Diablo, is still like a pretty powerful, you know, villain.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but then in this one you have Polka Dot Man and Weasel, and then Bloodsport, Peacemaker. These aren't villains you're seeing in like, you know, once a year in a comic book issue. These are maybe like one-offs. They might be side characters, but they're not the main villains usually. But so they're expendable. Like the only one that I don't think would die, like that is like guaranteed probably won't die, is Harley Quinn.
I mean, to be fair to El Diablo, he's currently in Hawaii being a private investigator known as Thomas Magnum. So,
The actor?
yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, I guess
Yeah.
I don't recognize him without, you know, him being bald and having the tattoos.
Yeah, you have to like listen to the voice because like when I learned that, I was like, no, you're not. No. But yeah, it's definitely all in the voice.
Wow.
Oh, that was me when I realized who plays Isaiah Bradley in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Did y'all recognize him
Yes, but like
from
a lot of things. I feel like I've seen him in a lot of things.
From what?
Name 3.
I can name 2. So he was the voice actor for Martian Manhunter in the Justice League series, and then he played Marin Johns, Martian Manhunter's dad, in the Supergirl show. So he's like been involved in like the superhero comics like stuff before and different properties. So but I'm not used to seeing him with like the facial hair and actually looking old. So like him as Isaiah Bradley, it took me a second, then I was like, oh crap, that is him. Carl Lumley, I think is his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, like stuff like that. But I think for me, the biggest thing that stood out was definitely Starro. Because that is like something Starro's a villain that I like have wanted to see simply because, you know, the first team up for the Avengers, the villain was Loki, and we got that faithful adaptation in the Avengers movie. Even though, you know, it had its tweaks, I was like, there's no way we're getting a live action Starro for the Justice League movie when it came out. And we got Steppenwolf, which was like, for Justice League, I feel like for the first one, it should have been like Legion of Doom or straight up just Lex Luthor, stuff like that. And then we get Darkseid in the Snyder Cut, and I'm like, that should have been like a Thanos level threat. Like, not their first time meeting up is Darkseid. Unless they did something like the animated universe where their first time is Darkseid gets beaten, and then like he wins at the end, and they have to like kind of backtrack that, which was really cool if you watched the DC animated universe movies, like the way that they did that. But like with Starro, I was like, okay, if we're gonna get a live action Starro, it's probably gonna mean like Legends of Tomorrow, low budget CW, and it's not gonna be something really cool. But we got like full on kaiju level Starro. Like, as ridiculous as it looks, it fits the vibe of the Suicide Squad movie so far. It just fits, and I really like it. And I'm very excited for this to be like the villain.
Should you explain like who Starro is for people that don't know?
Okay, so Starro, in terms of comics, the first time the Justice League ever teamed up was against Starro, which is just this big alien starfish.
Yeah.
That its abilities are a little like hard to explain. It's kind of like a mind control thing that it can do. So against the Suicide Squad, we could see some. That's actually Starro is not the same thing as the what's it called, plant from Superman, but like the big Starro is different than the little Starros. That little Starros can attach to your face and like mind control you, and you get controlled. But fun fact, in that original like Justice League storyline, they don't actually beat Starro. It's Jimmy Olsen is the one that doesn't get controlled, and he ends up releasing the heroes and allowing them to
take pictures of something. I don't know.
Nah, he's just there. He's Superman's pal, and then he's like, or no, it's not Jimmy Olsen. Who's the other one? The other reporter that's like his boss in most of the other ones. Snapper Carr. It's Snapper Carr. I'm so sorry I messed that up. But he's the one. He's like the friend of the Justice League that helps them out, and I thought that was really funny.
Snapper Carr.
So there's that. Hope, what was your biggest takeaway from the trailer?
Oh, jeez. Well, first off, like watching the trailer that dropped 3 hours ago today when we're recording this, for seeing like all the rats, first off, I was just like, no, thank you.
Ratcatcher is going to be really cool. I'm excited for an on-screen version of that. Like Ratcatcher is obscure, but not like so obscure.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
I mean, like rats can do a lot of damage. So after watching lots of criminal like crime shows with rats devouring different things, they can do a lot of damage. So like, it's an interesting power to have.
Too Fast, Too Furious. Fast and Furious 1.
Yeah.
Where they put the bucket on the guy and heat it up with the rat on his stomach. And gory thing that I can't explain on podcast, but yeah.
Yeah. There was also the fact that I probably knew that John Cena was going to be in this movie, but like the fact that you have a big name like John Cena in this movie, and then
you have a lot of big names.
Yeah.
It's not like you have John Cena, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, Pete Davidson, Taika Waititi, Sean Gunn.
Don't they think he's gonna wait? Isn't Taika Waititi possibly playing Starro?
I don't remember where Taika Waititi is in this. I don't know if it's confirmed.
I heard a rumor. At least it's a rumor.
And then let's see who's voicing King Shark. I think it's Sylvester Stallone is voicing.
It's Sylvester Stallone.
So there's a lot of big names in this.
Like, but also like my other thing, because I've been watching The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. He and Pete Davidson act together in at least one episode because they're half brothers. So that was interesting. But just to know that they're working together. But like just in general, the fact that like they're with the Suicide Squad, like it looks really cool. But also I'm sitting here going, I hope that they don't have all of these big names to draw in people and then it's a big letdown. Just with
it's James Gunn. So if this is that's kind of leading into the rest of the DCEU. The one thing I am worried about is the DC movies have created such good trailers for their movies, and every single one compared to the trailer has been a letdown.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel
except for Wonder Woman.
Oh, actually, no. Speaking of trailers, that's actually James Gunn worked on the trailer too.
Okay.
Whereas for the first Suicide Squad, the director did not work on the trailer. They actually had this other company do it, and that's like the trailer was so cool for the first Suicide Squad. You really thought it'd be kind of like this fun, like almost like Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, and then it's kind of a letdown. But James Gunn, no, he actually worked. He had his hands in it, which I think is important.
That's a good sign.
But just like one other thing, because like DC films have a habit of like filming in the dark when you can't see anything happening, because everything is dark, including costumes. But like to see a lot of it like in the daylight, or at least in relatively well lit areas, I was like, I can do this type of movie. Like, even if the trailer is better than like the actual movie, I'm like, if I can see what's going on, I'm gonna be really happy for DC to go on with that. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
DC definitely has had that trend, not just in the movies, but in most of its media, of being a little bit darker.
Yeah.
So I think James Gunn will kind of bring that, like it's got the lightness to it that he's able to bring, like the comedic touch, the fun, the color. But at the same time, because of the characters and the inherent storyline, I still think it'll have that like kind of like dark, gritty aspect to it.
Yeah.
Specifically looking at those scenes from the trailer that are like in the jungle, I think those will be like, they'll have their comedic moments, but we'll still have that kind of darkness to it. This trailer reminded me closer to what the video game Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League looks like, rather than the trailer for the last Suicide Squad movie. So I think DC in general is trying to move its properties to be able, because that's definitely been a common complaint. Everything's too dark. I think the company's trying to move specifically its films to that, a lighter setting. Like looking at Wonder Woman 1984, that was definitely brighter than the first one. More films, it was filmed in sunlight. You got to see Diana like outside walking around the city. Either of you see Wonder Woman 1984?
No, my roommate did, but I have not yet.
I was able to see it. Definitely, like the first one was much better, but I really liked Wonder Woman 1984 just for what it was. Didn't really interfere with like the story told by Man of Steel through Justice League, like the more modern era. So which was nice, but also at the same time, it was a little campier than the first one, which I was not expecting. I was expecting like Diana to be more badass and like more, in your face. I am Wonder Woman, but it was much more like I have to do this because I'm Wonder Woman. I don't want to.
Oh, one thing I did notice, and like I just looked it up to see if she just wasn't in the trailer. Cara Delevingne is not in this movie. And it's interesting to me because of how much the first Suicide Squad, like, it was kind of about her because she was being controlled by
Enchantress, yeah.
Yeah. And like how much the storyline kind of became like, no, let's go save my girlfriend from this evil being.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's not even in the second one. So I'm like, okay, are they going to bring something up about that? Or are they just going to like ignore it?
I'm sure it'll be mentioned, I feel like. Also, what's her boyfriend's name again?
Rick Flag.
Rick Flag. He looks so different in this one.
Is it the same actor?
It's the same actor, yeah.
Okay.
But he just...
If you would have told me it was a different actor, I would have believed you.
Yeah, he doesn't have like the soldier look, but he looks like bigger, like more muscular. I don't know. I was like looking at it, I was like, is that...
I feel like part of it with like Rick Flag though, especially like after the first movie, is that he understands the Suicide Squad or like the villains more, and so like he doesn't want to be that soldier role anymore and just follow orders blindly. Like he's like, no, these people are humans and like have this human side, and like
But speaking of this too, Hope, like because not having Enchantress is not the only casting change. The only we still have Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. We still have Rick Flag. We still have Amanda Waller with Viola Davis, and Captain Boomerang.
Yes, but that's it. Yeah, no Killer Croc.
No Killer Croc. No Deadshot. No El Diablo.
Yeah. Well, didn't Diablo
died?
Diablo
technically.
died.
Yeah,
he didn't die.
But the other thing, because I remember the whole Deadshot thing being a really big like deal when this was first happening, like when everything was being written and coming out about this, because they were originally going to recast Deadshot, and then I think like people got mad, or like they just decided, we're not going to have Deadshot in this movie because we really like Will Smith's version. And we want to leave it open for him to be able to come back if he wants.
Yeah, I would.
And the thing about the Suicide Squad is in the comics, it's a constantly rotating roster.
Yeah.
And it's just whoever Waller is able to get her hands on. The one point Batman was on the Suicide Squad because Waller was able to put a bomb in his head, but he gets out of that.
Sure that Waller isn't the true villain of this.
Waller is a villain. Waller is a villain. If you've watched the animated Justice League or Superman the animated series, villain, like there's no question about it. She's arguably more diabolical than most of the villains that in Batman's rogues gallery.
Because she has government support.
Yes, because she is the government, and that's the point of comics, is the government is evil above everything else. I can create the Joker, a literal homicidal maniac, but the government's worse.
It's not about the money.
I think part of it too, though, with her being the worst villain, is like it's true. Like it's so easy for her type of person to become the villain versus like someone turning into a half shark and becoming a villain. Like.
You understand why King Shark might be a villain.
Yeah.
He looks like a shark.
He eats people.
Victor Crumb.
Yeah.
Victor Crumb is stuck in his animagus form.
And then or even Harley Quinn. You're like, okay, she was abused and has all this trauma in her past, and like I can't say I wouldn't act the way she does or do the same things she does if I wasn't in her position. But then you look at Waller, you're like, I really hope, because this is like too realistic of a villain. Like, because a Suicide Squad could happen. Like a Waller in charge of a Suicide Squad could happen. I don't think a King Shark's going to happen.
That's like the movie The Dirty Dozen, which was during World War II. It was like which I mean, I think it's based on a book, not a real story, but it was like the U.S. government had this group of basically people that were on death row and other criminals all pretty much get into a squad that was essentially a suicide mission to go and like stop these Nazis. Good movie. But yeah, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's take a step back from Suicide Squad. I'm very excited for it. I think in terms of the rest of the DCEU, I think this could be a turning point. I think with James Gunn's direction, a little bit of a lighter tone, this could be what fans are asking for from the DC movie. This could be what the first Suicide Squad was supposed to be. Like a sign that the DCU isn't taking itself too seriously. Obviously, they don't want to follow the same format as the MCU, because they're doing they did the team up movie before most of the origin stories.
Mhm.
Like that's a big difference. But I think Suicide Squad could be that turning point. However, before this movie, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. The DCU has been a bit of a crapshoot. Wonder Woman was fantastic. You get mixed reviews for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Most people do not like the Suicide Squad. Most people didn't like Birds of Prey. And then you have some people that really, really like Aquaman and Shazam, and some people that really, really don't like Aquaman and Shazam. So it's like we haven't gotten like that universally loved film yet, like we did with Iron Man, with Captain America: Winter Soldier, like we did with Guardians of the Galaxy, like stuff that like everyone was like, this is really good when it came out. I have no hate for any of those movies, but I feel like with everything they're including in the films, they could be better narratively. Is my main concern is narrative. I know a lot of people have like not costume, but like
casting.
Not casting, like just the overall like type, the darkness stuff that Hope was talking about. Like it's too dark, if that makes sense. So what are your thoughts? Do you have was there a movie that you like particularly loved when you saw it? One that's grown on you since from the DCEU, or are they all just like, meh, they're movies?
Well, like Man of Steel was kind of depressing. I don't know. Like it was because it was very like the dark thing, the gray. Like when it was done, I didn't feel happy. I was like, well, the city's in ruins. He had to snap a guy's neck. But there are like aspects of the movies that I really liked. Like I really liked, like people gave Batman and Batman versus Superman, they gave Ben Affleck a lot of flack.
They give him F flack.
Yeah. But I really liked his Bruce Wayne. Like not his Batman as much, but I love his Bruce Wayne. We didn't see a lot of Bruce Wayne with Christian Bale. I feel like it was just mostly Batman, and like seeing the way that he, like in the beginning, like the way that he was helping people in the streets when buildings were falling down. Like it didn't even have to like set up his character. Like that set up his character enough to be like he cares about the city. He cares about the people. Like I don't know.
It wasn't even his city. He was in Metropolis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of it for me, like, because like what Isaac was saying, like with between Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, I feel like it's also like the Spider-Man movies between Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland. Like you have one that's really good at being the superhero side. You have one that's really good at being the alter ego. But they really haven't found someone who's both. But then again, they haven't really written it in a way that you could have both yet. And I think like that's the biggest thing, because I think sometimes they try and do like too much, but they haven't necessarily like set it up to like, like when you see a plot diagram, I mean, you do have the straight line, but technically like there's little points and little, to build you up to that big climax, so that like the last 5-ish minutes of the movie, you're like coming down off of that high of did the hero win or lose. And like they don't really do that. They kind of just have like this little bit that kind of sets it up, like beginning exposition, then all of a sudden they're like, boom, we're in the middle of everything and you have to deal with it right away. And you kind of sort of can come down from it, but also like you didn't really have a big enough build up to do something.
I definitely get that.
Because like like I'm a person that like I'm kind of in the middle for Aquaman. Like, and this is not because of my hate, and I will use hate for Amber Heard. This is because the movie itself, like when they're fighting in Greece, I think it was. Like that
That's
was
the first time. That's the first big fight against Black Manta, right?
yeah. And like that was really interesting to me to like see that fight and like seeing Arthur have to deal with that and like also having seen him as like trying to be a normal human type thing. Um but then after that it was just kind of like bleh. Like when he became Aquaman with the trident and everything, like and King of Atlantis, like it was like, oh, that's like a cool little scene, but like it was also just kind of like meh.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying about that too. I mean, I did love Aquaman's like whoever was in the art department. I think did such a good job.
Oh yeah,
They have been killing it with costume.
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
costume.
I'll give them that.
And like you can like underwater can be really boring or really good, and they were able to do really good, especially when he was swimming away from all those like fish monster things and
Trench
like
people.
trench people, and it's like nighttime and there's storm, and you just see thousands of them. I was in theaters and I was like, that's so cool. But then yeah, it really went back to that. Oh.
I think because of the like success of the MCU, like Warner Brothers and DC were really like the administration was really trying to force like interest and intrigue to get it like to the level of the MCU really quickly. And I think because of that, in the first couple films, like you have Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, like they're trying to do so much when I think they're making it too complicated. If they smooth it out, because like think about like back to Iron Man, like you didn't try to introduce, Iron Man and War Machine and this history of Iron Man, like with Howard Stark and all of this in one movie. You took 3 movies to really explain that. Like you started off with, this is Tony Stark, he's a dick. And then you kind of like explored that. You got like the thanks. You kind of got to see a little bit into his life. In the first one, you got a nod to War Machine, but like it was about Iron Man. And then you move on to Iron Man 2, you see some of like Tony's like inner demons. You see him struggling with alcoholism,
His father,
struggling to do his father. Then you get a little more of his backstory in the second one. And then the third one, it's like, okay, where's Tony Stark now? Like now that like we've seen his past, we've seen his present. This movie's kind of about his future, him dealing with PTSD. And that trilogy, the trilogy is what tells Tony's story. And while there were nods throughout it to like different aspects, there wasn't like anything that was too overt that was never answered. On the other hand, the first time we see Batman in the DCEU, it's, he's been Batman for a while. We don't have this like origin story. We get a nod to Robin, like Robin being killed by the Joker, but like that's it. And I feel like while they didn't have to necessarily do a Batman origin story, if they were going to do this experienced Batman, they shouldn't have tried to do as much with it. Like, not as many like Easter eggs in the Batcave, or been a little more explicit with those Easter eggs and said like, this is it. And then maybe given us a route out of it, saying like, oh, okay, this isn't important. We need a little more about Bruce Wayne and Batman now and less about, what might have happened in the past.
Which I kind of want to go off that because, like you said earlier, the DCEU was separate from Marvel in the fact that they started with like all of them together rather than the origin stories first, like Marvel did. And while you've been saying this, I've been thinking about like the first Avengers movie, because you do get like glimpses into the backgrounds of the characters, especially as they interact with each other. And I think that doesn't fully come out in the DCEU movies as much. Like with Marvel, you've got Steve, who knew Howard when he was still, playboy, not quite philanthropist like Tony, but playboy at persona. And then he meets Tony, and he has this idea of his father, and Howard and so he's trying to project that onto Tony. But then Tony's also like trying to you can see Tony is trying to get rid of like get out of his father's shadow. So, whereas like in my opinion, like between like Batman and Superman, you don't really like fully see the difference, like them conflicting in differences. Like I think if I remember correctly, like there was one scene where like someone was like, "What happened to Martha? How do you know that name?" And it's like you don't really see them interacting on it. You see like one of them and another character going off of why does Martha affect this other character so much? Like, and I think
why did you say that name?
Yeah,
that's all we get.
And it's like if you would let them like actually interact, like that's my mom's name. No, it's my mother's name. Oh, like.
When he wasn't holding a spear to his throat, when like that really should not have been the first thing on his mind.
Yeah.
Like if they would have said it at the party scene and had him think I think in the end this goes back to like this administrative level of like they were just trying to get intrigue in quickly, and what's more intriguing, the origin story that we've seen a couple times of Batman, or this grizzled Batman that like doesn't have this no killing rule anymore. But then like moving forward from this too, the one interesting thing about DC that like Marvel doesn't quite have, they're getting into the multiverse right now, but like DC is very like different timeline oriented. So they have an excuse to start new without completely retconning everything else. It's like, which is what I think is going to happen with the Flash movie. Cause like we're getting a bunch of like, we're getting a Batman reboot with Robert Pattinson, which could be introduced into the DCEU, and also looks fantastic.
Yes.
I'm very excited for that movie. I'm hoping that we get to see Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne a little bit more than we got to see Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. Because the one thing that I really want, and I really need like a live action adaptation of this idea, is if any of you watched Batman Beyond, there's one episode where there's a sound-based villain that's like a recurring villain in Batman Beyond. And Bruce Wayne gets put into a mental institution because this villain is manipulating like his brain, so he keeps like hearing voices in his head. But the voices keep calling him Bruce. And at the end of the episode, Bruce Wayne says to Terry McGinnis, who's the current Batman, he says, "Yeah, I knew this was fake because, in my head, I don't call myself Bruce." And Terry's like, "Wait, then what do you call yourself?" And he gives him the look like, "What do you think I call myself?" And it's like, obviously he calls himself Batman in his head. And I'm like, I need someone to explore that like I need someone to explore that Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne does not think of himself as Bruce Wayne. He thinks of himself as Batman, and Bruce Wayne is the mask. Like, that's the idea behind Batman, and I want to see that implemented in the live action. And I think this has the potential to be that, even if it's not as direct as I want it to be. Yeah. So this shift, obviously the DCEU has not been everything we'd kind of hoped for because of these administrative issues, and like just the narrative hasn't worked. And there's been stuff like that. Moving forward, they have a lot of fun projects. Is there anything you're looking forward to specifically?
Well,
yes, Hope.
I
Sorry.
just want to because with you were saying how he thinks of himself as Batman and Bruce Wayne is the mask. I think that was like in Christian Bale's Batman series too, and Christopher Nolan's. Because you have the line in the last one of sometimes the hero is the guy who puts the coat around the young kid's shoulders or something like that.
That was towards Gordon, wasn't it, though?
Yeah. But, I mean, that's still him saying, like, hey, like, I became the hero that night that you showed me what a hero is. Like, even if he wasn't Batman at that time. And, like, honestly, with how good of an actor Robert Pattinson is, when he gets good script writing and good movie things, he can really create characters. 'Cause, like, he honestly, like, I see him, so moving into what you asked, like, what projects are we excited for? I'm excited. Okay, thank you for, like, groaning at me, Ellie. But I see Robert Pattinson being like the Tom Holland of the Batmans, where like he's good at portraying both Bruce Wayne as well as Batman. And I think, like you were saying, Brendan, he has that mentality of I am Batman, but I need to show myself as Bruce Wayne so that, like, you know, I don't give away that I'm Batman. But I'm also looking forward to the Suicide Squad. She's telling me it's bedtime because it's, you know, almost 10 o'clock at night when we're recording this, and my dog likes to go to bed.
Oh, for those of you who don't have video on, Hope has a dog in her lap.
Yep, my big golden retriever. But so the Suicide Squad, like, honestly, it looks really good, and I've been excited for it since, like, I saw the actor who plays Flag. He had posted, like, a behind the scenes video of, like, explosions on, like, a beach or jungle area, and, like, I've been excited since that, because, like, he seemed super excited for it and everything, and I'm like, okay, if the actors and actresses are, like, really excited for something, then something about this is definitely going in a good direction.
And I think we have to thank James Gunn for that, because from what I've heard of people talking about working with him, he's fun to work with.
Yeah. And then I'm really glad that they brought him in, especially after Guardians, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was Guardians.
In what could have been a dark way of portraying them, he made it really light and fun, even with the dark themes in that movie. And so I definitely see him bringing that into the Suicide Squad.
Real quick, I should have given you these options before, but here are the confirmed upcoming DCEU titles: The Suicide Squad, Black Adam, The Flash, Aquaman 2, and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Things that are not confirmed DCEU that are coming up is The Batman. So not confirmed is DCEU. But then also not confirmed to be happening is a Justice League sequel, which has been potentially talked about given the Zack Snyder Justice League release, and then a third Wonder Woman movie.
Wasn't there talk of Superman having to be recast because, like, Henry Cavill's contract was
Which is why I haven't brought up any Superman stuff, because in theory there should be another Superman movie, but there has been nothing because whether Henry Cavill will be returning, and then I think we will get more confirmation on that after the Flash movie, which I think is about Flashpoint, leading into my favorite one. I'm looking forward to The Flash. I think Ezra Miller was a great casting for Barry Allen, and he's pretty cemented in the role after pretty much, after showing up in the CW show. Spoiler, if you didn't know, Ezra Miller's Flash showed up in A Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, which was really funny.
And Grant Gustin had a really hard time keeping that a secret. I thought that was so cool that they were able to do that. I'm also excited for Shazam! Fury of the Gods and Black Adam. I have to put Flash up there because Flash is one of my favorite heroes of all time. Plus, we get to see a live action Reverse Flash, and he's in my top 10 villains of all time. I love the Reverse Flash.
Well, I'm very excited for not Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sorry.
I'm also excited for Guardians 3.
Yes. I am very excited for Suicide Squad, just because I know that James Gunn can create something so fun. Like he's so good at making really fun action, witty movies. Even just the way he films is fantastic, and I'm just really excited. I'm also really excited for The Batman, which isn't officially DCEU, but I really love Paul Dano and I love the Riddler. So the Riddler is one of my favorite Batman villains. Mostly for the sake that he's so he just wants to beat Batman in a game of wits. And sometimes, he kills people. Most of the time though, I feel like he doesn't kill a lot of people. But this is a whole new take on Riddler too. It looks like a very Zodiac killer type vibe. But I'm really excited to see where that goes. Also, Black Adam is going to be great. I don't know.
We get a live action JSA in that movie, and I'm very excited.
It's going to be great. Calling it now.
Quick question, because it's been a while since I've watched Gotham. Is Enigma the actual name of the Riddler, or are they two different people?
Edward Nygma is his name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enigma.
Thank you.
However,
Brilliant.
if you're caught up on Batwoman, there is currently a villain called Enigma going around. So that could, if you're Googling stuff, that name might also be popular right now, but different character. Well, I think to sum up, we never talked about Snyder Cut.
Your background, come on.
It is my background, and I wanted a quick mention that I think Snyder Cut, I don't think it's changed anything directly about the films, but I think it shows Warner Brothers is willing to invest in their properties, in DC properties, in potentially forming the DCEU. I think they just really have to commit to something and run with it, and stop worrying about competing with the MCU, because you can't compete with the MCU right now. But just make fun movies, listen to the fans, and I think Zack Snyder's Justice League was a good step in the right direction, even if it was overhyped for what it ended up being. So I think closing message on DCEU is, we recognize problems in the past. We think Suicide Squad could be a turning point, and everything in the future sounds good. And we just keep our fingers crossed that it won't have the same problems that it had in the past. Because everything from the first phase, everything pre the Suicide Squad, looked good as well. But I think they're starting to find their footing. Well, as always here on Raving Geeks, we do like to end with some recommendations for our viewers, whether that be movies, video games, comics, or anything else geeky. I think today I will start with some recommendations. So my first recommendation, if you are a fan of the comics, and as Isaac just mentioned, this is good timing, the Riddler specifically, one of the newer Batman comics called The War of Jokes and Riddles, is one of my favorite Batman comics. The basic plot is the Joker and the Riddler have an argument over which of them gets to kill the Batman, who has the right to. So basically, they divide the city in half and divide Batman's rogues gallery in half, and everyone picks sides. And the whole rogues gallery just fight each other in the city while Batman tries to do damage control. And I will not give away the spoiler, but there is some information at the very end of how this comic ends that kind of changes the whole rogues gallery dynamic completely, flips it on its head. Which is very, very interesting. My other recommendation, if you haven't watched it, it should be on HBO Max. If you have it, I'm sure you can find it other places too. But the show Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, the animated show from the early 2000s, very, very fun shows. Some of my favorite stuff to watch growing up. So,
I'll go next. So, if anyone follows our Twitter account, I tweeted about this because it frustrated me so much. So I am recommending The Irregulars on Netflix. I know I recommended it in the last podcast episode. It hadn't come out yet. It came out. I finished it in 2 days, and the only reason why it took me 2 days instead of one is because the first day I started getting a headache. But it was really, really good, and I'm not just saying it because my favorite actor is in it, but the supernatural aspect combined with the Sherlock Holmes aspect was really, it meshed really well, and the storyline of everything, and figuring stuff out and going, is that a thing? And then learning it is a thing. It was really good, and I need season 2 to come out now, even though it hasn't even been confirmed or filmed yet. But yeah, that one, I literally sat there after, and my family can confirm this, that I said, oh yeah, I do have other shows that I can watch, because I was like, what else is there to watch now that I've finished watching The Irregulars? So yeah, it's really good, and you'll be frustrated by the fact that there isn't season 2 yet. So go watch The Irregulars.
All right. My recommendation is going to be the show I mentioned earlier is Invincible on Amazon Prime. I'm only one episode in, but I'm really excited to see where it goes. I love Stephen Ewan, he's nominated, right, for first Asian American nominated for that movie he was just in. Anyways, so Invincible on Amazon Prime. I'm also going to recommend. It's an older game from 2015, but it's called Soma, Soma. It's like a
I don't know what you
survival.
can say 2015 is old.
Older, I mean, like, yes, 6 years ago.
Don't say that.
It's a survival horror game made by the people that made Amnesia, if you've heard of that, The Dark Descent.
I know Amnesia.
But it's so weird. It has to do with I guess I don't want to spoil it, but it takes place in an underwater remote research facility. And it really has you think about what it means to be alive and to exist and what really means, like, what is living, but it's fantastic. And I recommend it. And it's on Steam on sale for, I think, $5.99 right now. So I just got it. Yeah.
I'm surprised that you
Nice.
remember getting it, or that you remember what it is with, a name like Amnesia.
I'm
Is
sorry?
that
Oh, that's the other game.
That's the
this
other
one's
game.
called Soma.
You've already forgotten. Yeah.
I have amnesia about what the other game is.
Hey, and if you've read Brave New World, Soma can make you forget things. So, like,
There we go.
oh, actually, one last recommendation. If you have Peacock, the show Brave New World was actually very, very good. Lots of sex, just heads up. But that's to be expected if you've read the book. So otherwise, very, very intriguing philosophically in terms of that. Man, I should just save that for next week. That one wasn't time consuming. I always struggle coming up with new recommendations.
We'll just cut it out. We'll just cut it out.
All right. Editor, you're on it. All right. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you all for joining us here at Raving Geeks. Make sure you can leave a comment wherever you're listening from. We'd love to hear all your thoughts on what we talked about today. We know there's a lot of speculation and opinions about the DCEU, so feel free to send yours our way. And also feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at Raving Geeks. And make sure you follow our TikTok account. We're starting to post a little more. We had some pretty popular ones.
One popular one about Pokemon that is still going.
Yep, we just hit over 5,000 likes on that one. And also, since as of today, April Fool's Day, Pokemon decided that Bidoof was going to be their big April Fool's prank. And our TikTok was about the barrel, so I feel like I predicted the future. So yeah, alrighty. Well, as always, I've been Brendan Valentine, along with
Hope Gooderell.
And I'm Isaac Hunter.
All right,
Just
everyone,
doesn't
stay
like you,
geeky and have a
Isaac.
great weeky. So long.